So here we have it, peeps. This is the first episode of RF1150 build, and I decided that maybe this time I'll do it in a different format. So instead of filming the job and commenting there and then, I just filmed it without any commentary, and I'm going to put it on fast forward, telling you roughly what is being done. So this is the RF900 engine that I built some time ago, probably about 2 years ago. This was a rusty engine, which I rebuilt and put a 6-speed gearbox in it. This engine turned out to be a success, actually. I had it in my bike for some time. And so, as you can see, I removed the valve cover and then removed the cam holders and camshafts. Now I'm removing head bolts. So once all the head bolts are removed, and by the way, this is a question that actually a couple of people asked me during the last project of building this engine: can you reuse those stock head bolts? And in the case of RF900 or GSXR 750 1100 motors, and RF600 as well, because those head bolts are the same in all those engines, yes, you can. Those head bolts were actually reused 3 times, not even once. They were reused 3 times. Just make sure you use new head gasket and base gasket and all the other rubber components in the engine. So as you can see, camshafts have been removed, and now I'm getting the cylinder head off. Comes off really easily. Now head gasket comes off. That head gasket looked pretty much brand new, really. I was quite surprised by that. Yeah, so ignition cover comes off, turning the crankshaft, removing some remaining bolts there. So getting the hoses off, tappy tap action with the mallet, and the cylinders come off. So this is interesting. Those pistons have done, as I said, probably about 600, maybe 700 miles. And there is some carbon buildup on them. So it just goes to show that carbon buildup is not something that happens on high mileage motorcycles only. It's a natural thing, a product of combustion, and it will appear on, low mileage engines as well. So all the pistons now removed, as you can see. Base gasket removed, and you might be wondering, why did I put some tape on the con rods? Well, I've done this because I'm gonna reassemble the engine to some degree without pistons, because I don't have a proper engine stand which would allow me to turn the engine upside down. So I'm gonna have to basically put the cylinders back on and the head and the valve cover, to be able to turn the engine upside down and just lay it on the valve cover. I just used just literally 4 head bolts instead of all of them, and that will allow me to just put the engine on its head pretty much. So here I remove the alternator. Starter gear cover is held by, I can't remember exactly, but I think it's about 12 bolts there, so I'm removing them now. Tappy tap, and the cover comes off. Then all the gears come off, going in the bag. And in a second I'm going to be removing the clutch cover and then disassembling the whole clutch. So here we have it, the later type of clutch in the RF engine. This is the clutch that is a lot easier to work on, because you don't have the diaphragm springs and this massive 50mm nut holding the pressure plate. This is easy, just a few standard bolts. You can unscrew them with standard Allen tools and it all comes off. So all the plates come off. Some of them had to be fished out using the magnet, but no problem whatsoever, all easy. And there we go, empty basket. Trying to remove the basket, comes out easily as well. and we've got a fair level of disassembly. So as I said, at that point I'm going to turn the engine upside down, removing the oil filter and oil filter housing, which actually is a little oil cooler, a very smart device in those engines. And now removing the oil pan. It's held by a lot of little 8mm bolts. Very easy to strip them, so if you ever reassemble your oil pan, just make sure you don't go like a monkey trying to twist those little bolts there, because you're going to strip the threads. So disassembling the internal oil filter pickup, and we are getting further and further with this. There's going to be a few crankcase bolts under the oil pan, so those have to be removed in a sequence, which can be found in the service manual. And I'm using my electric tool, as you can see, just to expedite the process a bit. And I use this cardboard to make sure all the bolts are in their spots, so it's easier to assemble the engine. And so tappy tap action with the hammer, and the crankcases are separated. Now removing the crankshaft, and we've got RF900 crankshaft out. Alright peeps, so have a look at this. I've got both crankshafts, RF900 on the left and the GSXR 1100W on the right. So just a little comparison. As you can see, RF is marked 31E and GSXR is marked 46E. Now the differences, obviously the rods are different. So you can see RF900 rod has a smaller diameter, small end than the GSXR. GSXR is 20mm and RF is just 19mm. And also the crank pins in the GSXR crankshafts are beefier. They are 38mm and RF is, I think, 36mm. And obviously this crankshaft, GSXR crankshaft, will provide 60mm of stroke, whereas RF is only 56. Therefore, with the bigger pistons, I'm going to be getting a lot more displacement.